Please welcome Celeste Burgoyne.
Hi, I'm Celeste Burgoyne, and I'm honored to be on the Makers app board and to work for Lululemon. As we know by the theme of this conference, we are not done fighting for equality. I know most of us in this room agree it is our responsibility to pay it forward, our responsibility to ensure we leave our organizations better off than when we started. The US is the only developed nation not to have a paid maternity leave policy, and only 16% of the private sector employees in the US have access to paid family leave. At Lululemon, we have over 20,000 employees globally, and 78% of them are women. We strongly believed it was up to us to change the narrative, that it was up to us to create a benefit program that didn't just make things a bit better, but truly transformed our people's experience. This past May, we launched our innovative, gender-neutral parenthood program that gives our people access to up to 6 months paid time off. As a mother of 2 little boys at home, it makes me so proud. 320 employees have taken advantage of this leave so far. From a creative director who's taken 6 months off to be home with his newborn son, to a woman who just adopted her first child, to over 200 store employees who have benefited from this program. This program has a huge impact. This program allows our people to live into their full potential, allows us to retain top talent, and creates leaders along the way. And speaking of leaders, there is one story in particular that speaks to the beauty, resilience, and strengths of a mother. I'm proud to welcome Nicole Phillips, our regional manager from Phoenix, Arizona, to share her story.
The most terrifying day of my life was the day my son was born. It's a day that will be etched in my brain forever. I'll never forget the moment the doctor walked into my hospital room, where I had been for the past 2 weeks, and abruptly announced, "Nicole, we're going to have this baby, and we need to do it right now." Within seconds, about 6 people rushed into the room, taking off my clothes, putting an oxygen mask over my mouth, and setting an IV in my arm. I was run down the halls of the hospital, just like a scene out of the movies. I knew I was about to have a baby that was 2 months too early, and that he might not be okay. I've wanted to be a mother for a long time. Fertility is a complicated thing. I tried forever to prevent pregnancy. And then when I felt ready, I thought it would just happen. It wasn't like that for us. We had years of trying, which eventually led us to IVF. Thank you, science, because we got pregnant. It was a Sunday morning, and like every Sunday, I was laying in bed, grabbed my phone, and opened one of those baby tracking apps that tells you how big your baby is in vegetable form. It's weird, you're all laughing because you know. People do it. He was a zucchini. In that moment, I popped out of bed and exclaimed to my husband, who was laying next to me, "I just peed my pants." And he, as any totally unexperienced yet completely supportive partner would respond, said, "Don't worry, I've read about this. It's bladder incontinence, and it's totally normal." Seemed reasonable, so I went on with my day. I was preparing to head to Lululemon's Leadership Summit the next day in Vancouver, Canada. And now I was mentally preparing to wear a gigantic pad in my black stretchy pants the entire week. It was going to cramp my style, but I'd do it. As it turns out, that was my water breaking. And as fate would have it, on this very day, exactly 1 year ago, February 11th, 2019, I checked into the hospital in Scottsdale, Arizona, not to officially check out for another 2 months. During that 2 months, I delivered my son, Gabe. At 32 weeks, he was the sweetest, tiniest 3.5 pounds. He was immediately taken to the NICU, where he remained for the 6 longest weeks of my life. Today, as I'm able to reflect on that particular 2-month period of my parenthood journey, I can really appreciate a couple things. The first, my support system, my friends, my family, the community that rallied around us and supported my families in ways that we didn't know we needed. And the second, more profound realization I had was how my job is a critical foundational piece of that support system. Last year at Makers, as Celeste was pledging our pledge to paid parenthood, I was on hospital bed rest, receiving bills dropped on my bed every few days. You can imagine the amount of relief I felt in that moment to learn I would be a part of that program. In my stay in the NICU, I watched mothers and fathers wrestle with time. They didn't have enough. They couldn't afford to take what they had. Their leaves were not designed for anything but a seamless birth experience. I even watched mothers go back to work before they healed because they didn't have another choice. I was one of the few privileged that got to spend every single moment by my son's side. In the most significant time in my family's life, I had access to a 6-month paid leave, and I could find peace, presence, and heal both my mind and body, all while learning how to become a mother. This parenthood program supported me in transitioning from that terrified new mom being rolled down the halls of the hospital to the powerful working mom I am as I stand here before you. Thank you. I'm so happy to share. My son, Gabe, is turning 1 in just a couple weeks, and he's happy and he's healthy, and he's the absolute light of my life. Thank you.